All right, so quick review over parabolas. What's standard form? Standard form would be something squared, y squared equals 4px, or x squared equals 4py, right? So first thing you got to do is make sure it's in standard form. So solve for the y squared. So I would move the 4x the other side, divide by 11, and you get y squared equals 4/11 x. Yes? Once you get it into standard form, all you have to do is compare it with the standard form. So this part of the equation has to equal that part of the equation. So you just say 4p has to equal 4/11. Divide by 4 or multiply by 1/4, and p is going to equal 1/11. Easy so far? So now it's about direction. If y is squared, that means the parabola has to go either left or right. If p is positive, which way is positive? To the right. So now we go to draw the graph. My focus point is going to be to the right 1/11, so 1/11, 0. My directrix is going to be 1/11 to the left, and that's a line, vertical line, so it's x equals -1/11. And then this is going to be a pretty skinny parabola going to the right. Now, one thing I did forget to mention was axis of symmetry. But that's, where can you fold it in half? Is this symmetric over the y-axis or the x-axis? X-axis. So the axis of symmetry in this case would be the x-axis. Yes. Where does it come from? It's basically whenever you take a parabola and simplify it and solve it for the variable that's squared, you always end up getting that 4p, and the ratio of where the focus point ends up being a factor of 4 all the time. So it's really just a matter of getting it to there and knowing that it's 4p. So I don't think you really want me to show you where it really comes from. Yeah. So is that it? Easy stuff? Anything else on these? Now, when it comes to your test and quiz, I'm going to give you this. So I will give you, 4x minus 11y squared equals 0. I will give you a little piece of graph paper to draw the graph. And then I'm going to give you some blank spaces. And it's just going to say, write the important characteristics. This is true for all of your problems. What I'm not going to say is label the focus point, label the directrix, label the axis of symmetry, those kinds of things, or the focus point, or the vertex. You are going to have to know for each conic section what are all the important characteristics. So for a parabola, you have to know that there's a directrix line. And the most common mistake people make is not with the focus point. I typically get that one right. People will say, oh, the focus point is at 1/11, 0. And then they'll draw the directrix line back here at -1/11. And they'll write the directrix is at -1/11, 0. What's wrong with that? That's not a point. The directrix is a line, so you have to write it as a line kind of thing. So you can't label the directrix line as a point. That would be a vertical line. So you got to write x equals negative 1/11. Make sense? So this kind of format is generally true for the whole chapter. So all the graphing ones, I'm going to give you the equation. I'm going to give you a little piece of graph paper kind of thing to draw the graph. And then it's just going to say, label all the important characteristics. You have to be the one that keeps it straight. What are all those important characteristics? Fair enough? Yes? I don't care if you did on this homework assignment. There probably will be on the first quiz where I'll actually say what is the axis of symmetry, but I think you guys can handle that pretty easy. That's an easy one. So it's just going to be x-axis or y-axis. So easy enough? All right, turn those in. We got an easy one today. This is something we've actually already done this year. What's the equation of a circle? X squared, y squared, r squared. So what does this look like? If I give you x squared plus y squared equals 49, what are you going to draw? Circle with a radius of 7. And that's it. There's actually always only going to be two important characteristics of a circle. One is the radius. Two is the center point. We're not labeling the center point right now because a center point, our center point is 0, 0. So all you really have to tell me is r is 7. Honestly, that's just about it. Now, there is one other thing we're going to do with those, though. Well, two other types of problems. One, if I tell you the center point is 0, 0, and I tell you the point 5, negative 2 is on the circle. Your job, tell me the equation of the circle. How could you do that? What do you think, Joe? You could. You could use the distance formula to find the distance between those 2 points. Or, what is the standard equation for a circle? X squared plus y squared equals r squared, right? Do you have an x and a y that you could just plug in? You could just plug in 5 squared plus negative 2 squared. Solve that for r squared, so you get 25 plus 4 is r squared. You get 29 is equal to r squared. Yes, you could take the square root to find the r value, but if the only goal is to find the equation of the circle, do you already know what r squared is? The answer is x squared plus y squared equals 29. And you're done. Easy stuff there. What if I asked you, let's do this. Everybody take a look at page 629. You're going to find most of this homework assignment about as easy as it gets. Number 9, what's the radius? What are you going to draw? Circle with a radius 1. Number 10, you draw a circle with a radius 9. How about number 14? What would you have to do first? standard form, so that's going to be x squared plus y squared equals 40. And if you get x squared plus y squared equals 40 on a test, again, your job is going to have to graph it and label the important characteristic. The only important characteristic you're going to have to label is the radius. When you graph this, you're going to have to do it in decimal form. So square root of 40, square root of 36 would be 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's probably about 6.5, right? When you label it, though, root 10. You guys know how to do that. Easy? Okay. How would you do number 22? They tell you the radius, you got to find the equation. What's the answer? X squared plus y squared equals 144. How would you do number 28? Where they tell you the radius is 5 root 2. How do you square that? How do you do 5 root 2 squared? Anybody remember? What's square root of 5? What's square root of 2 squared? Easy? Okay. I think you guys are probably thinking circles are super easy, right? Now, there's two types of problems that will be on your test. First one. Let's say Little Caesars delivers pizza, okay? Owen is going to deliver pizza to your house, which is a little scary in itself. He says he will deliver to anywhere that's within 10 miles of the store, okay? Anywhere within. You live 8 miles north and 3 miles west. Will he deliver to your house? How do you decide? Huh? How do you decide? Yeah, all you're doing is checking is, because if you are 8 miles north and 3 miles west, you're trying to decide, is that within a circle with a radius of 10, right? Shut it. I don't care about my drawing of my circle in this case. What's the equation of a circle? X squared, y squared, r squared. Is 8 squared plus 3 squared less than or equal to or greater than or equal to? This would be 64 plus 9. That's less than 100, right? What's that mean? It's in the circle, right? So if it's in the circle, he's got to deliver. Easy enough? All right. Take a look at number 53. Next page. So they give you the equation of a circle, x squared plus y squared equals 17, and they give you the point. What's the point they want? 1, 4? All right, so there's your point. What they want is called the equation of the tangent line. So we got to find the equation of the line that hits the circle once and only once. What do you got to what two pieces of information do you have to find the equation of that line? What two pieces of information do you have to find for any line? Slope and y-intercept, right? Do we know the slope of that line? Do we know the slope of that radius that goes out to that point? Think about how it gets from here to here. It goes up how far? Up 4 over 1. What's the slope of that radius? Wouldn't it be 4? What kind of angle do you think this radius makes with that tangent line? It does. It will always make a 90-degree angle, which means, what is the slope of that pink line have to be? Come on. Remember perpendicular lines? What kind of slopes do they have? Algebra 1? Opposite. Starts with an R. Opposite reciprocals. So instead of 4, it's negative 1/4. Okay? So I can go y equals mx plus b. I can put that in for m. Do I have an x and a y that I can plug in? Yeah. My y can become a 4. My x can become a 1. And I can solve that for b. So 4 is equal to negative 1/4 times 1 plus the b. Add that to the other side, which would be the same thing as 4 and 1/4 when you add that over there, or 17/4. So far, so good? So what's my answer? My answer is y equals negative 1/4 x plus 17/4. Let's try another one. Let's try number 54. First off, do I even care what the radius is, honestly? Or sorry, do I even care about the equation in this case? What's really the only thing I need? I need that point, don't I? What's that point? 2, negative 3? So 2, negative 3. So I'm looking for the equation of that line right there. What's the slope of that radius? How far down? How far over? Down 3 over 2? Great. What's the slope of the line that I want? Positive 2 over 3. Now all you got to do, plug in the point. The point would be negative 3 equals 2/3 times 2. And I solve that for b. Easy enough? Got these? Circles are pretty easy. They're not going to get a whole lot to them. You're basically squaring or square rooting most of the time. Now, I think I mentioned to you guys before how one of the reasons why I took this, or I used this book, I really like how this book, number one, introduces all the different conic sections, and it does the easy forms first, and then we'll start moving around up, down, left, and right later. But another thing that this book does that I really, really like. So if you look at page 629 of how this is laid out, all of your homework is going to be kind of laid out the same way. It starts out with, like, basically 3 through 20 is, here's an equation, draw the graph. Right? Every single assignment we do, just like the last one you did over the weekend, there's a section where it's, here's an equation, draw the graph. I'm going to make you do some of those because, yes, there's going to be some questions like that on a test. And then it goes to the opposite, where, like number 22, 23, that section is, here's a part, you got to find the equation, right? And then if you turn the page, there's another section of the same kind of thing where here's a part, here's a point on the circle, you got to find the equation. Okay? And yeah, we'll do some of those. We'll probably keep it with like odds and evens. But then, I want you to look at the section 44 through 52. What's in there? And this is why I really like this textbook. What's in there from 44 to 52? Now we got parabolas and circles all mixed together. You have to be able to identify. So the directions on the test are going to be graph this conic section. Here's an equation of a conic section. Graph it and label all the parts. It's not going to say graph this parabola. It's not going to say graph this circle. You have to be the one that looks at the equation and can say that's a parabola, that's a circle. Right now, we only have parabolas and circles. How can we tell the difference between a parabola and a circle? Huh? But like specifically in the equation, how can we tell the difference between which one's a circle and which one's a parabola? Yeah, it's how many things are squared. Right now, if you see only one variable that's squared, that's a parabola. That section is my favorite section out of all of those, this book, because that's really how your tests and quizzes are going to be set up. You have to be able to look at an equation, go, that's a parabola, and then be able to graph it and label all the parts. Or look at it and go, that's a circle, and I can graph it and tell the radius. Easy enough? Because that section to me is the most valuable, your homework assignments are pretty much going to always be like evens or odds or every third for most of it, except that one section. I'm pretty much always going to make you do every single problem out of that section, because that section to me is the most valuable one. Okay? So when you get weird assignments like, let's do every third up to this point, but then this section, we're doing all of them, because that to me is the most important section. Fair enough?